Hi, everybody. Jean Humbrecht with Humbrecht Law here, criminal and traffic defense attorney in Manassas, Virginia. Welcome to our semi-weekly local business spotlight. I have a very special guest today, Troy Reimer from Red Clay Creative, going along with the theme for this month of publishing your first book. Troy actually he owns Red Clay Creative, and they're a web design and graphic design company. Basically, anything you need for graphic design, which Troy will tell us about in a minute. But with the graphic design, Troy actually designed my wonderful book cover that you see here, and I am very, very happy about it. And everybody loves the book cover. So. Awesome. So I want to turn it over to Troy right now. Troy's going to tell us a little bit about his business, what he does overall, and then we're going to get more specifically into the actual book cover and why having a professionally designed book cover is important when you're publishing not only your first book, but any book. And, you know, the reason, just a brief introduction, the reason is self-publishing now is so easy and much easier than it's been in the past. And there are a lot of ways that you can publish a book, you know, without spending a lot of money. And you can design things yourselves. I know there are programs out there that allow you to do it, but what we're going to be talking about now is the importance of having a professionally designed book cover, and then also the process that Troy and I went through and how I ended up with mine. So with that too long introduction, Troy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
No worries. Thank you. Yeah, so as Jean mentioned, you know, my company, Red Clay Creative, we help with all kinds of design needs. Our mindset is if you have great design, it makes it easier for you to sell. And so if your website's consistent with your pamphlets and your business card, that brand consistency is only going to help build trust in your company and the credibility that you have. So yeah, that's really what we do. And yeah, it was a really fun project working on the book cover because we don't typically do book covers, but I mean, design with anything is really about figuring out who your target audience is and, you know, partnering with our clients and to try and figure out what style they want to convey to create something really clean and professional.
Mm-hmm. So what are all the services that Red Clay Creative does? Because I feel kind of bad. I didn't know that book covers was not a main thing that you guys did. But
no, not at all.
I know what you do. And the way that I originally met Troy, we were talking about Troy redesigning my website, which I'm super excited about, and it looks really good. So stay tuned to see the launch of the newly redesigned website. But that's how I met Troy. And then when I got really frustrated trying to figure out what I was going to do with my book cover, I contacted him and asked if he did this. So I guess, Troy, if you can just tell everybody a little bit about everything that Red Clay Creative does, because you mentioned the branding and the importance to keep everything, you know, kind of cohesive, and which is, again, one of the reasons I wanted to do this, because I think a lot of people don't think about that. Like, you know, my book cover, I think kind of is in line with how my website looks and how my business cards look. So yeah, if you just want to tell everybody, you know, about all the different you know, services that you guys provide, and you know, the importance of those, I guess, you know, and the branding.
Yeah, it's really, like, websites is kind of foundational, and so it's like, especially now more than ever, it's like that's really your storefront. It's where people get to know you, they learn about your business, they see what you're about, and so we start there, and then we build upon it with design. And, you know, graphic design specifically. And so that's helping with different print aspects like postcards, brochures, business cards, book covers, you know, reports and things like that. And just making sure that matches up with that foundational aspect of the website. Sometimes there's like a brand book that goes along with that. Just really depends on how committed some people are to their brands.
So when you say brand, I know what you mean, but I hate to say it took me a long time to really understand that concept. Can you can you kind of explain
Yeah.
to people, what brand is, and why? Yeah, I guess we'll just start there. Like,
Oh man.
what is your brand? I know what
That's a
Jeff
tough one.
Bezos says about brand, right? It's what
What
people
does he
say
say?
about you. I've heard. I mean, it's hearsay, of course,
Yeah.
but I've heard that he says your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So it's how people describe you, how people
Yeah.
think about you.
That's a good way to describe it. I kind of think of it as like it's your first salesperson that like people meet without really getting a chance to talk to you, kind of like along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that first impression that you make. It's like if you're wearing a suit to a meeting versus a t-shirt and khakis. Um, those are both parts of your brand, whether you realize it or not. And so it's like all these pieces come together to inform the brand, and they can be conscious choices or they can be, um, you know, you're not really paying attention to them. And so we focus on that design aspect. It's like we're not going to go and tell people what to wear to meetings and things like that, but it definitely is a part of your brand. Um, and so yeah, it's like having that consistency or that professionalism. It's like people can tell. You brought up software, like Canva, and it's like if you're a good designer, those software work great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's like if design isn't your number one thing, or is it like something that you're good at, then it's like people are going to see that come across in those tools, and it's like they'll be able to tell, oh, this person did it themselves, or this person had someone help them do it, or they really put some thought into this. Um, so yeah, there's just all those like little things that add up to. It's like before you say hello, do people know who your company is? Have they seen it before? Have they seen an ad? Have they seen the Chamber of Commerce? Have, those things. That's all brand. It's hard to define it, but I like what Jeff Bezos said.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense with what you were talking about. You go into a meeting wearing a suit versus wearing a t-shirt and khakis, you give different impressions.
Yeah.
But I think people, and this was, I think, kind of hard for me to understand, how do I convey my brand? What is it that I want people to think about my business, and how is that going to show through my website design? And how is that going to show, through my book cover and through my business cards, and my logo and all of that stuff? I mean, I still don't really have a good grasp on it. So can you maybe give an example of, like an unconscious, message that you're sending, that you don't realize? Like, I mean, do colors matter? I mean,
yeah. So like, two big things that I look at when I'm working on a design or a website is fonts and colors. And so subconsciously, colors have different meanings behind them. The one that I always go to, there's two examples that I have. It's like financial companies use blue a lot, because it signifies trust. And then, food companies use red a lot, because it makes people hungry. And
really? Oh.
yeah. So that's why it's like McDonald's and Wendy's and KFC, all those brands, they all have red in them. And yeah, so it's like most people don't, like, they just walk by, they don't even think about it, but it's they put thought into it, and they did studies and all that stuff. And then on the font side, there's serious fonts, like there's funny fonts like Comic Sans, and so that they start to show the character of the brand. Yeah.
So the font that you use shows the character of your brand on a subconscious level.
Yeah, it's like it's just like, if you had Comic Sans on the cover of your cover, like, of your book, it's like, would that say lawyer, or would that say that I know about this topic? It's giving off a different emotion than you may want to convey. And so yeah. in your case, it's like we use that font that looks like it was stenciled in because it's like you think legal, you think road, you're talking about traffic um,
Hmm.
issues in Virginia, and so it's like it correlates to that, and so it's like whether someone realizes it or not, they're already making that connection to the topic before they even read a single word on the cover.
And I've actually heard people say that because when you sent me the batch of the first designs, I will tell you guys that the design that is on this book cover now is one of the original ones that Troy sent me. But there were a few others, and I ran it by some of my friends, and everybody loved this one. And they mentioned what you just said about the stencil, and it looks like a road and road sign, and the white circle around the writing looks like chalk on the ground. And I didn't even think about some of that stuff, but other people noticed that right away.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like it's all these like little pieces that go into telling that story.
So, talking more about how we came up with we didn't even talk about the back of the book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So again, I mentioned this on the live that Russ McIntosh did the edit, not the editing, the layout for my book, and
Oh, great.
we were talking about all of the things that you don't think about when you first write the book, and even when I thought of the cover, I think I was halfway through before I was like, what am I going to put on the back? So, I mean, do you want to tell everybody? And then also there's the spine too. It was important for me to have the title on the side here because when it's on a bookshelf, when everybody runs out and buys all their copies, I want them to be able to actually see it because I just don't like when I can't see a book title on the side. So that was something that was
important. I think that's smart.
But I also learned that your book has to be like big enough, a certain number of pages, or else it's not going to fit. So then I'm like, oh, I got to make the book longer, to make sure that, everything fits. And I'm like, where am I going to put the picture and all that stuff? So, I mean, those are just things that I was thinking, but do you want to tell everybody about, the back of the book and designing that and that whole process?
Yeah. We decided there were conscious choices about, putting the description of the book at the top and then putting the information about you underneath that. Because it's like the mindset is that someone's going to know what this is about first, and then they're going to want to know about who wrote it. And so dig deeper into that. And then it's like, okay, now I'm ready to get started. I'm ready to buy. And so it's like kind of going through that thought process. We do this all the time in design, whether we're designing a website or a book cover. It's just like thinking about what is the customer going to do? How are they going to use this? What's it going to be like when they pick it up? Are they going to see it from the side first, like you described on a bookshelf? And it's like, okay, how do we make that pop? And just like little subtle things like trying to decide if it's going to be justified left, if the text is going to go edge to edge, that kind of stuff.
I'm trying to pull up a picture of the book so people, so I'm going to screen share so people can actually see the book cover so I don't have to keep holding it up. Let's see, where is it? Here we go.
Yeah, you can tell I definitely like talking about this stuff.
All right, so you guys can all see the book cover. This is just easier for us to talk about it like this. So you see what Troy was talking about. The back of the book obviously is here on the left-hand side. The title is there, and then the yellow line underneath. I don't even know if that's something that we actually talked about. I mean, did you do that for a specific reason?
No, just like to separate the sections. It's like if you don't have the line at the bottom, you may think that it's like that top section is a part of the bottom section or.
Yeah, that's true. And I was a little nervous about putting my picture on the book cover. Wasn't I?
I think it's a must. Yeah, but you got to.
Yeah. But But yeah, so you see the back is black, and then there's the picture of the police car, and then the white, the more than a fine. It looks like the road sign, and then the circle around the true cost of speeding in Virginia. It looks like chalk outline on a road. So it's very clear that this is about traffic offenses, I think. And the back and forth that I was trying to decide, I was like, do I want the true cost of speeding in Virginia that's yellow? Do I want that to be white? Do I want it to be yellow?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
So we tried the yellow line.
yeah, and do we do the line in yellow? And I said to my friends, which one looks better? Which one do you like? And then like everybody was kind of, like a third of the people liked one way, one third liked another way, and then one third liked another way. And I'm like, oh, come on, guys, you're killing me. And then someone was like, it doesn't matter, just pick one. And I'm like, no, it does matter. But I don't know, the psychology, and I don't know what if yellow is going to be better than white. Is there anything behind that? Like, or is it just the way that it looks, or does yellow actually, did you do that for a reason?
Sometimes it's just the way it looks, in this case, like going back to the road imagery, we picked colors that were on the road, so yellow, white, black, for asphalt. Sometimes it's just a matter of deciding how deep you want to play into that. One of the designs that we came up with had two lines like in the middle of the road. Just trying to pull elements from the real world and trying to incorporate those into the design to create that subliminal connection.
Yeah, and see, that's I wouldn't have even thought about that.
That's
I know
the fun part to me.
Well, that's why you're working on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then another thing. See, I keep thinking of more things. We can't see the picture on the screen there. I'm not sure if I can. I don't know if I can. If I scroll down, can you see that now? The full.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So at the bottom, well, you can't see it on the picture, but like there's a barcode, obviously, because there needs to be a barcode on the book. That's something that I didn't think about also from the beginning. So then I was like, where are we going to put the barcode? And like, trying to fit the barcode around the picture and all that stuff. Just all these little things that that I didn't think about. But the fact that you design book covers, about this stuff, and about the spine, and you'd be able to tell people things like that.
Yeah, there was like things like I remember when we were doing the design, I had to ask you, it's like, okay, what thickness of paper are you using? Because then that helps, or like even like what like the type of ink that you're using can change the thickness of the spine. So it's really interesting.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's like all these things are, it's like, if you use glossy versus matte finish, and what's the thickness of the paper, the pound of the paper, and and then it's like, to your point, you said, it's like how thick the spine was going to be. It's like sometimes what people will do is they'll increase the font size to make that spine thicker, rather than writing more.
They'll increase the thickness of the paper?
No, they'll increase the font size inside the text.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So then it adds more pages. Yeah.
I don't know why I thought I needed to write more, because my problem is I wrote too much, and I have a problem being concise. But I was still worried that my book wasn't going to be big enough to have the title on the spine. So what are I think the process of the book cover, there was a little bit of back and forth, but not really that much, I don't think. I was very happy, like from the very beginning. I guess it was just those nuances, like for me, I was like, oh, what do I say about the book? How much do I write? Do I put a picture of myself on there? What do I say about myself? Those kind of things, which is why it was very helpful for me to have Troy, be able to answer those questions, because, what do I know? Like, I would have just, if I was doing it myself, who knows how this thing would have ended up. Probably wouldn't have sold any of them. Because the cover, it's very important, right? So why is the book cover so important? Like even now when most people are buying things online, you know, we're not thumbing through a bookshelf in a store. Why is it that even buying things online, the book cover is so important?
It's still there's still those elements that grab people, you know, like the color, the placement of things. It's like, you know, an image, like sometimes it's just one powerful image that can grab someone. I mean, with all of these things, we're just trying to find ways to break through the noise and capture the attention of the people that you want to read your book. You know, so whether you're marketing this book or whether you're marketing your services, it's all about finding the best way to reach those people. And you try every little thing that you can, you know, moving this over here, moving that over there, to get closer and make it easier for you to reach those people.
And that's just really stressful for me. Maybe I stress out about it more than I need to. I think to myself, oh, well, if I do white text instead of yellow, you know, is that going to make it less appealing? I mean, but it sounds like you're saying that that's true, though. I mean, like the image is really, I don't even know.
To an extent, yeah. So it's like you kind of have to weigh. It's like at a certain point, you know, it's like it just becomes preference. So like you're talking about your friends who is like split evenly between, you know, a third, you know, third. And it's like at that point you're just like, okay, you just go with what your gut feels.
Yeah.
But you know, there is real science behind these things. And, you know, the deeper that you go, what people will do is you know, have you surveyed your friends, but then, you know, people will survey potential customers to try and refine their products and their design. And, you know, it's just this iterative process. And that's one of the nice things about online or digital design is that you can continue to try out new ideas and refine it until you get closer to that ideal design for your customer.
Yeah, and you know what? That's actually another point that I didn't think about. We can always change the cover. Like if I were to do a different edition, I could do a different cover if I wanted to. Like if for some reason we you know, decided I didn't like it or it wasn't selling, which is not true. I love this and I'm never going to change it. But you can change it and you can always update things. So it's not like, I mean, it is very important, but I mean, it's not something that ever, you know, it's not like it's set in stone and it can never be changed. So, I mean,
well, yeah, it's like, there's like, you know, political books that come out now. Something interesting about those is that a lot of them use big red text. And so it's like, you know, no matter what side of the aisle those books are on. And, but that's an intentional choice. But in 5 years, when they do reprints of those, that may be tired and they may want to separate out from that. So, yeah, there's always that possibility in the future.
Yeah, like if I wanted to update my profile picture that's on the back, or I wanted to add something to my bio that was in there, or I wanted to add the words #1 bestseller on the front of the book.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I noticed that with actually writing the book too, you can always do another version. Like if I decide I don't like the way something reads, or I mean, this is my first book, so I mean, you know.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, well, thanks. But I was just going to say, I don't know how I might learn things for the next one. Like maybe my style of writing needs to be different, or maybe it needs to be shorter, maybe it needs to be longer, something like that. So, you know, in the future, I always could change the content of the book. Or if the laws change, you know, then I'm going to need to change the content. So, I mean, there's a variety of reasons, you know, why people might do that, especially for law. That would make sense too. But yeah, so when I first published the book, I didn't realize that I could do that. I was so obsessed with making it absolutely perfect. But you always can. I mean, we can just do the process again. I mean, I can always upload a new version of the book. But if I were to do that, and I know this because the process we went through, if I were to change the if I were to change sorry, I'm looking at the comments. If I were to change the content in the book, it might change the size of the book, which might possibly change the layout of the cover, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I imagine, if you add 10, 20 pages, it wouldn't change it that much, but, maybe we could do more on the spine, for instance, or maybe there's like something else that like a little flourish that we could add there. And, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's like one like way to kind of think about design is, so if you look at the iPhone, it comes out every year. They're always iterating, improving, and it's like they're never done with the design. They're just done at that moment. So it's not the same as a book, but it conveys that idea that this is this constant process where you're always refining and improving and trying to get closer and closer to that ideal thing.
Mm-hmm. So if for some reason I decided that I wanted my brand colors to be different, which I don't, we could update the cover to reflect.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
or like include that in your name at the bottom or something like that. Or
right. So what does this cover, Troy, convey to you, from your experience? Like if somebody were to see this, what do they think? Or at least, what was behind your thinking in designing it this way?
Yeah, so in addition to like the fonts and the colors, one of the big things I look at is the photos. And so the idea here is, although you're not looking through the rear view, and I think you had actually brought this up when we started talking about the design, but thinking about that, it's like, what do you see if you are speeding, and your heart sinks, you see those blue lights and the blue and red lights in the background. It's like showing that. And so, hopefully you're not familiar with it, but it's like, I think everyone has at least seen that in the movies,
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, so I think that photo aspect, it's like that blue light, you're like, oh crap.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, yeah, as soon as you see that picture, you know what it's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so what Troy is talking about when we were talking about the different book cover designs, one of them I thought I might like the idea of, on the book cover, you see the rear view mirror, and then in the background, you see a police officer approaching or a police car or something. Why was it that we didn't go with that?
I think it's just that we like this photo better. I think we had a few different options for that.
Yeah.
And it just, for me, I think it was the color of it. That blue ambience, created this tone to the photo versus like, I think the other ones were during daylight. You had a cop walking up.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't as exciting.
Yeah, this one had more of a, I don't know, it's just more, slightly more ominous, if that's the right word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with the surrounded by black, you're focused in on that. You got tunnel vision, in the heat of the moment.
Yeah. See, this is why I need a professional, because I wouldn't have thought about this. I mean, what else? Is there anything else like you can, I mean, maybe not necessarily about my book cover, but just, things that people need to keep in mind. And again, the reason why I'm doing this live is I'm super, I really, really like this book cover, and everybody says they like it unless they're lying to me.
I hope not.
No. But one of the reasons why I'm talking about this is we all probably know that there's all these. So if you self-publish on Amazon provides so much for you. You literally can publish on Amazon without paying anybody to do anything additional. But I didn't do that because there were just things that were just, not in my wheelhouse. Like Troy was saying in the beginning, designing. Amazon does allow you to choose from, I think, certain book cover, like just covers that they have already created, and
Mm-hmm.
you have the license to use, like you can just use them. But it was nothing I wanted. And then I played around with Canva, which everybody probably knows is a free to low cost, website where you can just, they have templates, and if you pay for it, it's yours, you can use it. And people design book covers that way. And then websites like Fiverr, where I guess you bid out, you say, hey, I want a book cover to look like X, Y, and Z. And then somebody bids on it and they quote you a price. I've played around with those things and it wasn't really for me. I don't, and I don't know why I even started down this road. Oh, the whole purpose of this is because you can do these things on your own. But I think it's much better to have a professional like Troy. And like I said, I never would have been able to create this myself. So I guess, Troy, my very long-winded way of asking you, can you tell everybody why it, would be better to go with a graphic designer that you're working personally with instead of doing it on your own?
Yeah. So it kind of goes to that iteration process. We've worked with, hundreds of clients on different projects and seen different, things go right, different things go wrong, and, what works and what doesn't work, best practices, the psychology of colors, all these things. It's like we're constantly improving our skill set as designers to try and deliver better products for our customers. And so in that, it's like we're going to deliver that information or share that information with you. And maybe not, as directly as this, but, through the work that we do. And so you're just going to get a really great product, I think, working with whether it's my company or another graphic designer.
Because if you're just designing it yourself, I mean, yeah, you might be able to figure out if you know what your colors are to keep the same color scheme. But, I think that the nuances of knowing how fonts make a difference and all those little things that we were talking about that you might not, think about if you're doing it on your own, and, how it's going to reflect on your brand, because these are subtle, subconscious things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that's the benefit of working with a professional. It's just that they're always trying to get better, and they're going to share that with you in the design, rather than this guessing game of, did I do it right, or is it this? Or...
Because something can look good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's for your brand or the way that you want your business to be portrayed.
Exactly.
And yeah. I mean, I'm a law firm, so the book, I mean, literally, I am a law firm because it's just me. So the way that I want my book to look is not the same that someone else is going to want their book to look. Or if I write a book on a completely different topic, am I going to want the same colors? I mean, maybe not. I don't know. Like, maybe I don't want a police car on the cover. So yeah, all these details I think are very important. And I mention them now because I came across all these things in the process of working with Troy that, like I said, I never would have thought about in the beginning. So I'm really glad that I met Troy, and like I said, I didn't even know. I was like, let's see if Troy designs book covers because I need help, and I was so happy. I was so happy when he said yes. Yeah. Seriously, Troy mentioned back and forth, but there was not much back and forth at all, because like I was just so happy. It was just like the little details about like, what do I write on the back? Do I put my picture on the top or the bottom? Maybe Troy has a different version of it, but I didn't think there was that many back and forth.
No. Yeah. It, like you said, it's like we came up with some initial ideas. I think it was like 3 or 4. And then we honed in on this one and just refined from there.
Yeah. And I'm really happy with it. I was talking about changing it earlier. I was just saying that, people, this is something you always could change your cover for the variety of reasons that we talked about, but I'm not changing this one. So is there anything else about designing the book cover that, we didn't talk about that you think is important to touch on?
No, not specifically. I guess just to like summarize, design, whether you're designing this book cover or something else, it's a combination of, taking your style or the style that you want to portray as your brand, and then matching that up with what the customer expects. And So you're just trying to get the attention of your customer in the best way possible.
Hmm. So portraying your brand, aligning your brand with what your customer expects.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm. But well, what is it that my customer would expect?
So like, like, well, I guess in this case, we touched on it, it's like about like those subtle things. It's like the placement, it's like if it's a law firm, you're not gonna use funky fonts and all this random stuff. It's like
Yeah.
there's like a certain tone that you want to convey. And yeah.
So, what tone does this convey? I mean, we talked about like what people think when they see the police lights, but what tone, like, I don't know the best way to ask this. What tone does this convey? Like the font, the colors. I mean, what is the tone that it conveys more so than just what the book is about? What's the tone? I mean, like what do people think about me or the firm like when they see this? Or ideally, what would they think?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It's like I'm trying to. The reason I'm a designer is because I'm not as good with words. So it's like, I guess it's just, I don't know. I'm kind of stumped on this one because it's like I know like kind of just like inherently, but it's hard for me to, I guess, put it into words.
Okay. I mean, is it professional? Is it trusted? Is it serious?
Yeah, it's like, well, it definitely is serious. There was the question of like when we were doing the design of whether we should include that line drawn on there like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, okay, this is a serious matter, but does that make it too playful, for instance?
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess it's just like defining these words like playful, serious,
Mm-hmm.
professional, and then like assigning those to the design and what you want to convey. It's like, does this picture convey the right thing? Does this text, does the font, all those pieces coming together? It's like, what does that tell someone before they even read anything?
Mm-hmm. So, has anyone ever come to you for a book design before with a specific idea, and you've told them that they should do something else based on what their business is or what they're trying to convey?
I wouldn't say that it's like not something else. It's like because it's like usually it's like someone who's going to take the time to write a book, has thought about that subject pretty intensely, and so they probably have a picture in their mind already, and so it's like I wouldn't like dissuade them from that picture in their mind, but it's like we just would try and like help with the best practices.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of like a specific instance where it's like we came across like something like with like a red flag or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess in that case we probably just wouldn't do it because it's like it the are like we're like too far apart, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if their idea for what they want it to be is so different than what we think it should be, then it's probably just going to be a tough working relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense actually. So, because if the way that you want to do it based on your professional experience, they won't budge from. I mean, it makes sense. So
Yeah, there's certain like things where it's just like, we're gonna give our like professional opinion of like what we think. But it's like at the end of the day, someone's hiring us to do something. So it's like we can only like go back and forth so many times. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, anything else about book covers that we didn't talk about? Not just mine, but in general.
Um, no, I think we covered it all. Colors and fonts and photos, and just really thinking about what you want those feelings to create, and yeah.
Okay. Well,
I hope this was helpful for your audience, and it's interesting to me, at least.
well, it's interesting to me too. And I think it was very helpful. That's why I wanted to have you on, because I learned like so much in the process, and it was so helpful. And I just want to, convey to people that, sometimes, a lot of the time, you need to go with a professional.
Hmm.
Whatever it is that we're talking about. If it's talking about fixing your car, cutting your hair,
Yeah.
trying a court case, designing a book cover. I mean, that's why people specialize in things. And I just want to say that, as I've said 10 times, I'm very happy with Troy's design. I'm very happy about the process of working with him. Everybody loves the book cover. It was a huge load off my shoulders to be able to work with Troy. And it was such a smooth, easy process. And yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of back and forth because you never really know, like in your mind, exactly what you want. But that's why you have somebody like Troy who can, help answer those questions. So thank you, Troy. I really appreciate all of your help with this. I really, really do.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just happy that you like it, and that other people like it too. So
Yeah, they do. Well, thank you so much for your time. Either I or Troy will put the link to his website here in the comments, so you guys can check him out for any of your your web design.
I haven't been looking at my phone, but
your web design or graphic design needs, websites, book covers, logos, business cards, anything that's going to be portraying your brand on it. Red Clay Creative does. And also stay tuned for the website relaunch that Red Clay Creative is working on also, which I'm already super excited about.
yes. Yeah, we're on like the final round of edits, and we're excited to unveil it soon. I just commented with my website in there.
Oh, okay. And if you guys have any questions, whether you're watching this live or you're watching the replay, feel free to type something in there, and Troy and I will obviously get the notifications, so Troy can, answer any questions that you have. So,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Troy, so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. No problem.
All right. Oh, actually, Troy, if you want to hang on for just 1 second after I.
Oh.
All right, so we're going to sign off for right now. So I will see everybody on the next local business spotlight. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be after Thanksgiving. So thanks, Troy. See you guys later.
Yeah.
Bye.